Hello and welcome. It is JR, and you are listening to Three Things with JR. I am your host. I'm the man, and I am back. I've got to say, I'm feeling pretty well rested. I've had a pretty great week off. I went on vacation, went to the beach. When I got back from the beach, I went out riding my motorcycle on some dirt bike trails. I went and played in a disc golf tournament. And I am recording this on Sunday night, the last few hours of my vacation. This is how I am spending it here with you, telling you about three things that are on my mind, just because I actually kind of missed doing it while I was away. I was thinking about my podcast and how there's not that many people listening to it, but that doesn't really matter to me. I still enjoy recording it and putting it out there for anybody that does feel like listening. It is strange to me that there's not more people listening. Let's see, what do we got here? I've got some statistics. 13. That's my estimated audience size. 13. And after 12 episodes, it seems like we've got almost just over one person per episode is apparently listening on average, which is not a whole lot. But I don't care. I'm just going to keep recording this and putting it out because it's an outlet for me instead of being able to go out and do stand-up comedy. And I'm not really into doing like Zoom comedy gigs or anything like that. It feels too forced and artificial, whereas this feels more natural and like something I actually want to do. And I've been listening to a bunch of podcasts for a couple years now, and as a person who's always wanted to be in radio ever since as long as I can remember, really, I am thinking, why didn't I do a podcast before now? I should have, but it took me a little while. It took the COVID pandemic, time at home. Also, because of work, because of the podcast we're doing at Crutchfield, I lucked into work providing me with the mic, the all of the stuff needed to record a podcast on my computer, and I thought, well, maybe I'll just record my personal podcast as long as I'm at it. Why not do that? So that's what I'm doing, and it's been pretty great. It's been pretty fun, and I'm going to keep doing it. And I am taking submissions for guests. If anybody wants to be a guest on this show, which it's not a lot of pressure. If you want to come join me, all that means is we're going to do like a Zoom meeting, unless you happen. Unless you happen to be here at my house with me, we could record it in person. I don't care about that. Then all we're going to do is talk. I mean, it's basically a conversation with a very, very loose structure of three things. We might talk about something deep and personal. We might talk about something musical and something whimsical, silly, and absurd. And if that's what we do, that's it. It's just a conversation. No pressure. It's not a big deal. So if you're interested in being on my show, that would be fantastic. I would love to talk to you about whatever's on your mind, in addition to me talking about whatever is on my mind. And so we should probably get started with this week's three things. Thing number one. This is the one where it's usually kind of something deep, and it's been hard to think about anything but race in America these past few weeks. Everything went from being all about the pandemic to being all about race. And it's all over my Facebook feed. It's all of the conversations I'm having with people. If we're not talking about the coronavirus, we're talking about race, and that's kind of just life here in June of 2020. And one of the nice things for me that's come out of this is a couple recommendations I've had. My sister Aubrey threw up on Facebook a list of things white people should be paying attention to in the media to help educate ourselves. Podcasts, articles, blogs, videos, movies, TV shows, that kind of thing. And with me being really into podcasts lately, I attached myself to a podcast on Spotify called 1619. And 1619, for those that don't know, that's the year that the first Africans were brought to America as slaves. And that's where the podcast gets its name, and that's a big part of the first episode is the story of that, but also the story of the founding of America and the admitted contradictions that were basically built into our founding fathers, the documents they created. It goes into how Thomas Jefferson knew, as he was writing the Declaration of Independence, that it really wasn't going to apply to everybody, including the slaves he had owned himself. And to still write those words that seem so meaningful and are a foundation for our country, knowing that they weren't originally intended to apply to everybody, it's such a funky juxtaposition. It's tough to wrap your mind around, but this podcast really helps, actually. And for what it's helped me sort of understand is that, of course, there are individuals who are racist. We all know that that exists, and they're easy to spot because they say stupid racist things. What's harder to grasp and understand, especially as a person who hasn't been on the receiving end of prejudice and racism, is that America really is built on a system, a foundation of racism, of prejudice, of treating black people, especially black people, as inferior. And it's still happening today. I mean, America was built on the back of slaves, and it's still an issue. And I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on how it's an issue. I think the podcast 1619 actually does a really good job of illuminating a lot of that, and I highly recommend it. So that's what I suggest. The last two episodes of it are give you some real-world examples of ways that it's systemic racism still exists in America today, and it gives you a pretty good example of that. There's an episode about music, and oddly enough, it goes into yacht rock, and it ties a lot of things back to black music and the history of black music in America. And so there's a whole episode on music that's pretty great, a whole episode on the founding of our country, and some real-world, current-day examples of systemic racism. And so it's the issues we're dealing with are way more than just individuals who are racist. It is the system of America sort of having to evolve into something that is not racism. And we're not there yet. We have a long way to go until we don't have systemic racism going on. So it's helped me to understand just how profound and how huge of a problem it still is. And I was very blind to it up until very recently with all of the stuff going on now. And I'm very happy to have my eyes open to all of this and to realize what's been going on, what's still going on, and what we have to do to change it. I'm still figuring out what my role in that is as a white person who has had a pretty great life, and part of the reason my life is so great might be because I haven't had to deal with being on the receiving end of a system stacked against me. So obviously, I have a responsibility to help right the ship, as it were. So there you go. Thing number one, my thoughts on race currently. That's what's going through my mind. And I highly recommend that you check out the podcast. It's called 1619. That's it. That's the whole title. There's only 5 episodes. They're about 35, 40 minutes each. Easily digestible. And it won't make you feel super uncomfortable until you start thinking about really what's going on and what it means and how much work there still is to do. So, all right, before we get into thing 2, I think we should lighten the mood with a drum solo and an ad. Drum solo first. Here you go. And we finish the break with a drum solo. You like how I bookend the ad with drum solos? That is a lot of fun for me, so I hope you enjoy those. That really is me playing my drums down in my basement, just jamming. I don't have anything planned. I just sort of start banging away and hope something sounds like a drum solo. As you can, if you're a drummer, a really good drummer, and you listen to that, you can probably tell that I'm not a really good drummer. But I have a lot of fun playing the drums. I hit them hard. I play them the way I like to play them, and it seems to work well for the band I'm in, Big. So I'm just going to keep playing those drums. If you have any tips, or if you thought my drumming was excellent, I'd really love to hear from you. That's not thing two, though. Thing two is it's still actually going to talk a little bit about race, kinda. Thing two is usually having something to do with music. And one thought I've had in the last, year or two, since I've become a fan of Jason Isbell in the 400 unit and the Nashville Sound, his album that came out a couple years ago, and following him a little bit on Twitter, Sturgill Simpson, another guy, kind of I lump those two together. They're actually friends. Their music doesn't always sound the same, but they're both kind of labeled as, at least to start with, country music artists, because they have a sort of a twang to their voice. They're from the South, and they kind of sound country. Now, if you've listened to Sturgill Simpson recently, his latest album does not sound country at all, except for maybe one or two songs. But these guys are really just rock and roll with voices that sound kind of country, with some twangy stuff in their guitars a little bit. But what I like about these guys is that they're not your typical country dudes, right? They're not singing about their pickup trucks and girls in short shorts and drinking beer on Saturday night and all that stuff. No, they're actually singing about some real tough issues. And if you follow them, they don't have the same outlook on life that you might associate with the South, with rednecks, with country, with country boys, that kind of thing. These are progressive dudes. These are Bernie Sanders type of dudes, right? I can't speak for them. I don't know who if they were actually supporting Bernie, but they're kind of leaning that way in most of the social issues. And what I love about that is all the actual country boys who were fans or are fans of Sturgill and Jason and anybody else like that, when they find out that these guys are not your typical country boy redneck from the South, but instead have some very progressive ideas, it kind of shocks them a little bit, and I love that. That's the kind of shock they need, and we need more artists like that to come out and speak out against all of the standard stuff, like racism, like anti-gay stuff, all the stuff that you kind of might associate with rednecks and country music and all of that. These guys kind of sound country, but they are in so many ways much smarter than that, and I just love it. So there you go. Thing two, Jason Isbell and the 400 unit and Sturgill Simpson, two of my absolute favorite artists right now. I highly recommend them. Check them out and follow them on Twitter. If they're tweeting anything, you might be surprised. They don't sound like your typical country guy. So there you go. All right, thing number three. As I mentioned at the top of the show, recently went on a nice vacation. Today, I'm recording this at the end of that vacation. Did a whole bunch of fun stuff. I want to talk specifically about my trip to the beach. As I'm recording this, we're a good 3 months into the coronavirus pandemic, and things are starting to open up. We went to the Outer Banks in North Carolina. I think they're in phase 2-ish, right? So restaurants and places are opening. The actual Outer Banks itself opened about a month ago, and so we could actually go down there. We booked a hotel room, and Kiki and I, my girlfriend and I, we brought our 2 dogs to a pet-friendly hotel and went to the Outer Banks. And we weren't sure what things were going to be like. This is the first sort of outing we've really had, other than being here local to Charlottesville. We've done things around here as restaurants have started to open up. We've gone to some restaurants around Charlottesville, but it's all been very sort of You kind of we weren't sure what to expect, and the restaurants weren't sure what to do. So sometimes they'll bring the food out to you on a patio, but it's all in to-go boxes, and you got to throw away your stuff when you're done. So it's not exactly like a full-on dining out experience. Well, we went to three different restaurants in the Outer Banks that basically did give us the full on going out to dinner experience that we have been missing for the last 3 months, and it was fantastic. I'm not going to throw the names out there because I'm not sure that they're actually following their governor's guidelines, but I'm okay with that. I personally am not afraid of the virus myself. And whether or not that's backed up with science, I don't know. I just know that I would rather live my life without fear of getting the virus, and than I would to take all of the precautions and you could still end up with the virus. So that's my approach to it. I do have some masks. I wear them when I have to, but if I don't have to, I'm not going to wear masks. I'm not going to drastically alter my life. And so we went down to the Outer Banks. We went out to eat, and the experience was that they did not seem to have reduced their number of seats and tables at these restaurants. The staff was not wearing masks. None of the patrons were wearing masks. They were basically operating as if nothing had changed. Obviously, they had to close for a while. They did take out only, and or completely closed for a month or two, couple months. But they are back now, and we were very appreciative of just how normal it felt. And when you think about why this restaurant, we actually talked to the manager and we asked him. I pointed out how nice it was for us to go out to dinner and just have it feel so normal. We hadn't had that for a while, and he's like, "Yeah, thanks for saying that." We got together as a staff when we were allowed to reopen, and we decided that we were not going to do the mask thing. We're not going to reduce number of customers. We think our customers, we think the people coming to the beach right now are not the people that are super worried about this. They are the people that are more adventurous, more risk takers, more. They don't care so much about all of the restrictions, and they're not scared. They just want to go back to living their life as normal. We think that's who's coming to the beach right now, and so that's who we are catering to. And so glad you enjoyed your dinner. And so we were very appreciative, and we had basically that experience at 2.5 restaurants. The third one was a little bit more conservative about being a little bit more cautious. But two of the three restaurants we went to, just 100% back to normal, and it was wonderful. And we developed a term for this as we would go into different businesses, because we went into several different shops. We went to a couple ice cream places, things like that. And some places were very strict about it. They weren't, as a beach community, entirely flagrantly disobeying the governor's orders for masks and social distancing. Some places had decided to do that. Other places had decided to follow the rules very strictly. And so we came up with a term that we use as we're going into a place. You got to start looking around to develop to sort of determine how masky is a place, right? When you look in the door, are people wearing masks? Is the staff wearing masks? Are the patrons wearing masks? And that's your first sign of just how masky a place is, right? If the staff is wearing them, then patrons probably will start to wear them when they go in, but not necessarily. If the patrons are wearing them, that place is pretty masky, because in a place like that, most people didn't seem to want to be wearing their masks, but they will if they have to. And just because the sign on the door says you have to wear a mask doesn't mean people are going in there and wearing masks. And so I think a lot of people will simply go into a place without a mask, and if at some point they determine that that place is masky enough, they will put their mask on, or they just won't go in. I personally, I do. I carry a mask around with me. So if I come in, if I want to go into a place that is masky, super masky, then I will wear my mask. But until then, I will leave my mask in my pocket or in my truck. So that's my third thing. How masky is this place? That's what you got to determine. How masky are you? If you're super masky, I get it. I don't have any problem with people that want to wear masks and be safe. And be way more cautious than the way I am living my life right now. And I'm not going to argue with it or with you or have any problem with you if you want to be that way. It's totally fine. And I just don't happen to be very masky myself. So that being said, I have purchased at least 3 different masks during this whole thing so that when I do wear a mask, I at least got a cool one. I have one with a nice big picture of, not a picture, but like a drawing of teeth, like a big smile. I've got another one I bought from a friend it's kind of a black and red one. It's kind of a cool looking mask. And I've got a couple of just like straight up, like, cheap little hospital masks. So I am, if we were doing like a scale of 1 to 10, I am like a 2 or a 3 on the masky level, meaning I have masks and I will wear them when I need to. I'm not a person that has completely 100% rejected the idea of masks. I was for a little while, but I have gotten over that, and I'll wear them when I need to. But there are people that are rating a 0 on the they're 0 masky. These are people that refuse to wear masks and will also argue with you about it. And then on the other end is the people that are 8, 9s, and 10s on the masky level. They're super masky. They're actually, they didn't have to be told. They were wearing a mask before it was a requirement, and they're doing so to protect themselves and others. And they're probably the smarter people out there. I get it. I'm not lumping myself in with them. So I guess that means what I'm saying is I'm not very masky, and that's probably not very smart. But neither is smoking cigarettes, and I do that too. So it's kind of on the level with that. That's where I'm going with this. This wasn't super silly. I just liked the idea of being able to sort of look in and look for the signs to see just how masky a place is, and that's that. And that is episode 13. 13 Things. I will be back with a bonus episode this weekend. And another brand new episode next Tuesday. Thank you so much for listening. Please tell your friends, tell your family, tell your enemies, tell anybody. Check out this guy's podcast. He's a little weird. He just talks about whatever's on his mind, and he's got a great voice, and he does cool drum solos. And the ad that he does in the middle isn't even that bad. It's a nice little, quick little ad. And in fact, if you're thinking of starting a podcast, I recommend Anchor anyway. So I'm not advertising anything I don't already believe in. So please tell people. And if you're enjoying this, or if you're not enjoying it, rate my podcast. Go in and click those stars and tell people what you like about my podcast. Write a little review, and that might help others find it. And maybe we'll get more than 13 listeners. That would be awesome. That's it. I'm JR, episode 13 of 3 Things with JR in the books. Let's finish it off with a drum solo.